We would like you not to be so shy today and voluntarily share something because it helps the other devotees to hear from you. So don't hold back because others may benefit from what you're learning and doing your job. Okay? Would you like to share? So we have a microphone? Prasad, Swami. We have a mic? So we need a mic now. Let's see if it goes back. You want to see if it reaches? Take it back.
My experience this morning, in fact, it started from last night, meditating and how am I going to do this? Because I would have reflected that there are different times in my life that I would have had the best Japa session ever while being in Vrindavan, Mayapur, and reflect on the beginning days when I started chant, the first couple of weeks or months. So I was thinking, how am I going to make this special? Anyway, so I started out like at 5:30 this morning, and I went to the seawall, and I somehow or the other was able to create what I would have think my own little sacred space. And I started to chant. And I did a little of the practice that Mahatma as Prabhu would have showed us last night. I had my feet back here, my eyes closed. I found that it was an amazing experience. What made a difference with me was to reflect. It always comes to my mind that it is not me alone anymore. It is me, Krishna, or now Prabhu. The two of us are here, and that keeps my mind all the time. The only problem that was there, that what didn't go well, that is what went well, but what didn't go well was I didn't have enough time, and the rain came after some time also. So there was two disturbances, and therefore I have as a suggestion to improve, to organize myself a little bit more.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Who else would like to share?
Some of those was in your hands.
I was just going to say, actually, the same experience that Prabhu was sharing there just now in terms of while chanting, thinking that Krishna is actually with me while doing so. And my experience is that I tend to focus more on the whole name while thinking so that he's with me and not wanting to welcome him by my side. That was my experience in terms of what went well. And what didn't go well is that, the mind tends to slip away a few times and as normal, but quickly this morning I was able to pull it back a little more fast, and I recognize that. And I think the way what I should do to improve my Japa is to listen more attentively and practice more often the concentration of remembering Krishna. Thank you.
So he made an important point that he became more aware that his mind was going on. So awareness is very important, because you can't solve a problem you're not aware of. And when you make a greater effort to chant, you tend to become more aware when you're not chanting well. When you make less of an effort, you tend to be less aware. So, who else would like to share? Oh, Dr. David. Louder. Is the microphone on?
Hey.
Switch.
Gauranga. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
What went well for me this morning, it started last night here when we were doing the posture and all the shows how to do it. I felt at peace last night, preparing when we went home. When I started this morning, it was the same thing, except that, I don't know, for some reason this morning, the place was more noisy than before.
Really?
That is what didn't go well.
Noisy means?
Huh?
Noisy means what?
Well, where we're living is that there is a lot of people passing on the road.
Maybe you just noticed it more.
Yes. just a habit. I mean, I really noticed it because is that we tend to wander off a little bit. But I was able to bring my mind back a little and then start, concentrating on the relationship that we were speaking about last night. So I think what I have to do now is that I just have to concentrate more and make a little bit extra effort to do some best.
Thank you. So, we're going to make this a little longer. We're going to talk about that today. Who else would like to share? We've had 3 men and 1 woman, so we'll give the women another chance to catch up. We'll give the women first. And then you can go after her.
Krishna, what went right for me this morning was I was able to chant around between 5 to 7 a.m.
Can you finish them by 7?
7:50.
Oh, very good.
I practiced it on the poster that you showed us yesterday. It was effective, but what didn't went right is that at times my mind still straight,
Right.
but it comes back at the time. I tried, and what I need to do is that I need to be more attentive and just surrender more to Krishna.
Thank you. He's going to share.
Hare Krishna. What I learned last night was about this sacred space. Deliberately this morning, I went to the usual place and went around walking and chanting. And then I tried another spot on the sofa where the posture that was described by Swami last night. I tried that, closed my eyes, and was able to concentrate more and get connected. So I think that I have found a sacred space. So I was able to concentrate more and able to do my Japa very nicely. I think that I will continue in that way and try to improve on that and teach it.
Thank you. Maybe we can start a company called Sacred Space Sofas. SSS. Guaranteed to chant better japa if you buy this sofa. Anyone else like to share?
Hare Krishna. When we went home last night, myself and my family, we discussed a bit about it. So this morning, when I came back, because I came into the temple room, I sat down, and I tried everything, the posture, I even squeezed my eyes, and then I remember what you said, that, Krishna's name isn't sour. So, I relaxed a bit, and I started again. And it truly felt exhilarating, I felt enthused. And then after a while, what didn't go so well was that when you're held with certain responsibilities, you're sick after. I was disturbed, a bit. And after I finished with them, now they broke my concentration. So now I was sitting, and sometimes you're thinking, I hope they don't come and disturb me. So you're trying to do good japa, and at the same time you're trying to bring back your mind again. So I think how I can improve is by rising earlier and doing japa more than when those other folks are not awake as yet.
Thank you. That's practical. Sometimes that happens. You have to make practical arrangements so you won't be disturbed. Anyone else? Anyone have a really hard time this morning?
Hare Krishna.
Hare.
So normally I rise at 3, but because of the heavy meal last night, I told the security guard, please, if you don't see me by phone, just bring my phone. By Krishna grace, I was able to rise a tree again this morning. Normally what happens is that my reading take precedence even more than my chanting, which I want to admit. So I mentioned to Mahatma that from this morning, I will make sure that I get into the chanting instead of the reading. But somewhere there, I read for half an hour. And then I came to the temple here, about 4:45, and I helped to just clear up the benches, and it was Mangal Arati. So just after Mangal Arati, the first 7 rounds was good in the sense that I was thinking that Guru and Krishna is present. I was concentrating well. But after the 7 rounds, I could not maintain any consistency throughout the day. So I'm thinking that I have to, because there was so much devotee I want to ask me something. The reason for that is because devotee was asking me to different things they were asking me, so that caused interruption. So I'm thinking that I have to figure out how will I, avoid this interruption, even though I was in the temple hall this morning. So I still not able to come up exactly how I will avoid that interruption.
Oh. Have any advice? How to avoid interruption when you're running a temple or managing?
My best advice is you have to take a certain amount of time and you're just not there. Otherwise, you come and you have certain times, and just like I always give the example of my Das in Los Angeles, the treasurer. He has this is the time you can see me, and I know many temple presidents and leaders, this is the time you can see me, and this is the time you can't see me. And the devotees just get used to it. In the beginning, it's a little difficult, isn't it? But the deities, or this or that. But after some time, they all get used to it.
You could also...
That's also a sacred space. So
Yeah.
Time allotment, just like the physical place you are, also the time in which you're at those places is a part of sacred space.
Well, you could also, an idea, I don't know if it's practical, but you could establish that in the morning before greeting of the deities, that in the temple, there's no talking allowed. So as long as you're in the temple, nobody can talk to you. So we say, we're going to take a vow of silence in the temple, or even around the temple. So within 3 meters of the temple or something, or 5 meters of the temple, or 10 meters of the temple, nobody can talk. So that way you know when you're in here. Yeah, they may be outside calling you out. And then another thing probably is to figure out what possibly could go wrong between 5 and 7 that they need me, and can I organize things in such a way, evening before, or have someone else in charge of dealing with that, who perhaps has other service at that time and who isn't chanting. So then let's make this a sacred space, so no talking in the temple or around the temple in the morning.
The temple becomes like Krishna's consulate. It's like a consulate in a country. You can go in and you have diplomatic immunity. It's like Krishna's consulate. You come in here, you have immunity from managerial worries.
Or you can get a T-shirt that just says, "Don't talk to me when I'm chanting Japa." Maybe a bead bag that says "talking" and a red line around it. Whatever it takes. Okay, anyone else? Dying to share? And did anyone who doesn't normally chant 16 rounds make it to 16? Oh, give them a big hand. Thank you. How did it feel to do 16? Not easy?
Not easy. You're kind of exhausted to watch it.
You want to hear something really interesting? There's a course which teaches people how to listen when other people talk. Because often when other people talk, we think about what we're going to say, and we don't really listen to what they're saying. So one of the ways they train you is they have you sit with a partner, and the partner counts from 100 to 0 backwards, so 100, 99, 98, 97, and you have to listen to them. You have to pay attention to every number. And the reason they do that exercise is to show people how difficult it is to listen to people when they talk, how our mind tends to wander. So I was asked to teach this to some boys about the age of 9, 10, and 11. So generally, people's experience with this exercise is after you do it for a while, after they do it, you ask them, was it difficult to concentrate? And they'll say, yeah, it was difficult. So I did it with the boys, we did the same exercise. I said, was it difficult to concentrate? They'll say, no. Because they're all used to chanting. So they could sit there and focus because they're used to focusing. So if you practice chanting 16 rounds a day, it becomes easier. You get used to focusing. Theoretically. Okay. So now we're going to continue from where we left off yesterday. So we are now on section 4. And now we're going to begin to help you with the one problem that most of you admitted you had, which was the wandering mind. There's two problems that practically every devotee admits to having in dealing with their japa. One is they don't give it enough priority in their life. They don't give it enough what? Priority. And the mind wanders. Practically every devotee in every retreat or workshop we've done has admitted to these two problems. So now we're going to give you some techniques that will help you in dealing with the wanderings of the mind. So this is called section 4, and it's entitled Be Present. In the 60s, there was a popular book called Be Here Now. That saying is perfect for japa. Be with the holy name now. Oh, we're switching over. It's a simple concept, often painfully difficult to master, that just means be present. So what does it mean to be present? Being present means, just like now I'm talking, and if I say something, you turn to the devotee next to you and say, what did he say? That means you weren't present, at least for that last sentence. You were absent. Even though your body was here, you were absent. So if someone's talking to you and you're listening, you're present. If you're working on something and you're focused on what you're working and you're not thinking about what you have to do later and therefore neglectful of what you're doing, that means you're present. You're focused, you're concentrating, you're aware of what's going on right now at this very moment. That's what it means to be present. So being present during japa would be to be fully aware that I'm chanting the holy name, Krishna is here, this is a relationship, I'm praying for service, I'm praying to be uplifted. You'd be fully present with that. You wouldn't be anywhere else in your mind. You'd be right there, right now. Be here now. Be somewhere else later. Instead of being in the place you're going to be later now while you're chanting, you're going to go there later anyway, so now just be where you are. A devotee told me when his wife speaks to him, she notices that he doesn't always listen. Ladies, is that your experience? When you're married ladies, do you have that experience also? Raise your hand. Okay. Now your husband's going to yell at you now. When this happens, she tells him, you're not present. In other words, your mind's off, so I'm talking to you and your mind is off somewhere else. Doing one thing while thinking of something else is not to be present. It's a symptom of the mode of passion. To focus on hearing the mantra well, you need to transcend passion. What does passion mean? Well, one of the symptoms of passion, Krishna gives in the Bhagavad Gita, is hankering. So when you're hankering, that means there's something you don't have now that you want to get. So hankering takes you to the future. Oh, the latest cell phones come out. You can blow bubbles. You can watch TV with it. You can do your homework. You can cook potatoes for you. I have to get that. That's the future. So when I'm angry, when I want something, I'm in the future. Even just thinking about what I have to do in the future. That's the mode of passion. The mode of goodness is present. You're here in the present. And you're in the mode of goodness. When we're in the mode of passion and we chant, our mind is very active. It's very creative. It's thinking about all the things we could do, all the things we have to do, all the things we could buy. Right? It may even be thinking about service. And the devotee says, well, what's wrong with thinking about service? I'm chanting my rounds, I'm thinking about service. What's wrong with that? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. What should I cook for the deities? Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. Maybe I could make, let's see, I could make a sabji with Loki, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. Maybe if I make some yogurt, I could put yogurt and some Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. But I don't know, it'd be hard to make yogurt. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram. Maybe we could get some cauliflower. I don't know if cauliflower in season. Hare Ram, Hare Ram. So you see, are you focused on the holy name? Or are you focused on cooking? You're totally in the kitchen right now. Right? Or you're at the market shopping. But you're not with the holy name. You're in the future. Krishna is here. He's coming out of your lips. He's dancing on your tongue. You know what Prabhupada said? He said, when you say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna comes and says, yes, what do you want? He's coming there. He's listening. He's asking what you want. And then you're supposed to reply in your heart of hearts, I want you. I want bhakti. I want service. I want to get out of the material world. I want to be empowered. I want to be uplifted. But instead we're thinking, wonder if they have cauliflower. I wonder if so-and-so Prabhu bought all the things on the shopping list. Because a lot of times he forgets because he's kind of spaced out. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Why is he so spaced out? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I wish he wasn't so spaced out. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram. Why can't he just get a shopping list? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, so then we have the mode of ignorance. The mode of what? Ignorance. Is that your favorite mode? The mode of ignorance, the past. What happened in the past? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Why did she say that to me? Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. That wasn't nice. Hare Krishna. I heard she's speaking behind my back. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. She has a problem, she can just tell me. Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. And the things that she's saying, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I can't stand her. Hare Ram, Ram. Oh no, there she comes. Hare Krishna. So then so now something's bothering us that happened yesterday or last week or last year or whenever. And now we're absorbed in what's bothering us. So now the past is influenced, the past is coming into the present. And so, although we're in the present, the past exists within our mind, because the past, if you had amnesia, you'd have no past, right? If you have amnesia, you forget everything, so at least you wouldn't have to worry about the past anymore. Of course, you just have to remember the mantra, and if you forget everything else, then you don't have that problem with the past. So you can understand the past exists in the present time, because in the present you go to the remembrance of the past, right? Otherwise, the past doesn't exist. It's gone. It only exists in your mind, and when you remember. So now you're chanting your rounds and you're remembering the past. So you're no longer in the present. You're in the past. What happened? How many of you have ever been so upset by something that happened in the past that the whole time you're chanting, you're thinking of that thing? Raise your hand. If you don't raise your hand, you're not being honest. We're taking pictures now. It seems not honest. You're going to put your picture on the board here. So we've all had that problem. If we get really upset about something, something's really bothering us, that's what we're going to be thinking of. I mean, sometimes it's unavoidable. Maybe your mother died and it's like that's all you can think about. You can maybe totally disturbed. But most of the time, we have control. At least if we make the effort, we can generally control it. So we have the past. What do we have?
The past.
And it exists where?
In the mind.
In the mind. And then we have the future, which is the planning, the creating. Oh, I could do service this way. I could do this way. Did I forget to do that yesterday? Oh, I need to do it later today. So then we went from the past to the future. And all along, we're trying to meditate on the holy name, and we're not in the present. And now I'm going to give you a little exercise to bring you totally to the present, right at this moment. What I'd like you to do is focus on your breathing. And as you breathe in, just tell yourself silently in. And as you breathe out, just say out. So just for a few moments, meditate on your breath. Breath is the holy name, and you're chanting Japa. So you go in, you say in, you go out, you say out. That gives you an idea of how to bring your focus and attention to the holy name and just be present with it, just as you're present with your breath. And actually, if you're really getting scattered, you can just do this. You can just stop for a moment and focus on your breath. And as you breathe in, just say in. As you breathe out, say out for a few seconds till you feel like you're back in the present. And you can begin chanting again. Now, we have to catch ourselves when we go off to the future or go to the past. So that's the key. We want to be more aware of it. Okay. Let's turn the page. To be present during Japa requires that you be absent from the things in your life that don't support your Japa. So the key here is, just like with sacred space is an environment that supports your Japa. So now you also have an internal environment. So you take care of the external. You sit on your SS sofa, your sacred space sofa. Or you find your sacred space at the beach, as long as it doesn't rain. Well, you should bring an umbrella next time. You could think of Bhaktisiddhanta, he made a vow to chant, what, 1 million or 1 million names, and sitting on a hut and it was raining and leaking, and he just put an umbrella up and chanted. So just as we have an external sacred space which supports our chanting, we require an internal sacred space. Because the internal space could also be disturbed, right? And so many things could be coming into the internal space, just as so many things come into the external space. So external is not good enough. We have to do both. Does that make sense? Like you were saying, it was good for a while, then these thoughts, things started coming. They were coming into your internal space. You and Krishna are there. You don't want to bring anything else in there that doesn't support that relationship, right? Just like if you have a girlfriend, you're going on a date, you don't invite your best friend to come with you, right? Because that's not going to nourish the environment. You're going to go ask some girl to marry you, and you invite your mother along. So let's do it together. No. You want to be alone. You want to do it. You just want you together in a relationship. So Sacred space means how to nourish that relationship while we're chanting internally. We don't want to bring in things that don't nourish it. It's common while chanting to think about what happened yesterday, what will happen later today, or what is bothering us, and not be present to your job. To be present means to hear the mantra you are chanting, to listen to one mantra at a time. You can't hear the last mantra. Sometimes we realize we're not hearing and we get distracted. So, the last mantra you chanted, you didn't hear, you forget about it. You just want to hear the one you're chanting at the present time. You can't hear the last mantra, you can't hear the next mantra. You can only hear the mantra you're chanting. Right? You can't even chant 16 rounds. So, if I ever become a guru and I'll say how many rounds, my disciples will say, one perfect mantra at a time. I'll go, Gurudev, I can't chant 16 rounds. All I can chant is one perfect mantra at a time. So, the idea is, of course we can chant 16 rounds, but you can only chant one mantra at a time. So, one devotee who does Japa workshop, he says 16 rounds is an illusion. You can't chant 16 rounds. You can only chant one mantra at a time. And that will get you to the 16 rounds. So, we're just, we were talking about yesterday about the number. What happens when you're focused on the number? Where does that take you? To the present or to the future?
Future.
Just like, let's say you have 16 flights of stairs to go up, right? So you're at the bottom of the stairway, you're thinking, oh my God, I have to go up 16 flights of stairs. So the whole time you're walking up, you're thinking 16. Wouldn't it be easier just to think all I have to do is just make the next step? And after that, all I have to do is make the next step, and all I have to do after that is just be one step at a time. Wouldn't that be easier? Than thinking, oh, I have to do 16, that's so much. So when we chant, we don't want to be, we want our goal is to chant 16, but we don't want to be focused on the number. You can't hear the last mantra, you can't hear the next mantra, you can't even chant 16 rounds. All you can chant is one mantra at a time. We can chant 16 rounds, we just can't chant 16 rounds at one time. Be present with that mantra. Be here now, be somewhere else later. When you're planning about all the things you have to do later, try to understand you're not the supreme controller. You don't have to control all that. I'm going to do all this, and I'm controlling everything in my mind. How is it all going to be? I'll put this here, tell this person this, do that. That's the mode of passion we want to control. Just stop controlling, calm down, everything will be okay when we finish the rounds, and just chant. Be with Krishna. Yes?
I was thinking that you mentioned earlier that if you are chanting and you're thinking about the future, it's someone who will ignore.
Passion. Passion.
Sorry?
Future is passion.
Yes.
Past is ignorance.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, let's say someone is chanting and they're contemplating on, okay, I have to social deities, I have to make gardens for deities, I have to do so many other devotions that will come. How do you classify such thinking?
Well, just now you explained something to me. So let's say the whole time you were explaining something to me, I was thinking, I have to make a garland for her. I wonder what color she likes. And I wonder when I should give it to her. And I didn't hear anything you said. Could you say that again? Because I was thinking about I wanted to do something for you. So how would we classify that? It is also offense to be inattentive while chanting. Because now I'm attentive to something other than my chanting. So, the question is, well, is it wrong to think of my service? No, just don't think of it while you're chanting. What you're supposed to be thinking is, Krishna, please empower me, uplift me, purify me. Take my heart. Krishna, accept me. One of the reasons, that may be one of the reasons we doubt whether we should do that. Because it's a lot harder. And so, in one sense, it would be easier just to say, well, I think it's okay to think about other things if it's in relation to Krishna. Because it's really hard just to focus. To be present is to be present with Krishna's name. Prabhupada said, you should hear every word of the mantra. Completely be focused on every word of the mantra. That's the goal. You totally absorb. Have any of you ever chanted rounds, even for a few 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 1 minute, whatever, and just been totally absorbed in hearing and your mind just fixed on the mantra? Any of you ever experienced that? Is that special?
Yes.
Especially sweet? It's nothing that compares to that. You're there with Krishna, totally, 100%. And that is inspiring. That happened to me once. I don't know why it happened, but it happened. The whole 16 rounds, my mind wouldn't wander. And that whole day I felt like my feet were like 1 foot above the ground. It was the most unique day of my life. I felt completely beyond this world. So you need to have that experience. We're going to help you do that. Yes? Yeah, she's asking, can we apply past, present, and future in everything you do? Yes, exactly. Especially when your husband's talking to you, or you're talking to your husband. So before you talk to your husband, say, Prabhu, it's time to be present. Forget the past that sleeps, nor the future dream at all, but act in times of present, and progress you shall call. Said Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Plus, you'll be able to hear what I'm telling you. Yes, it actually helps you in everything you do, because you're more effective when you focus on one thing. In our society today, we're a multitasking society. We do many things at once. It's the total mode of passion. Everyone, you know, if you go to America, every kid over 15 is texting, you know. It's just like texting while they're driving. Everybody's like text crazy. You know, they have to text their friends, you know, about whatever's happening to them at that moment. And kids are getting in all kinds of accidents. They're driving and they're texting on their cell phones. You know, it's like society is so passionate. You have to have your Blackberries, you have to do your emails on the airplane. You like can't stop. You just can't sit down and relax. You have to keep like 4 or 5 things going. So to chant well, we have to be in goodness. If we're in passion, we're going to talk about this later. If our life is totally in passion, then when we sit down to chant, our mind is just going. You ever experienced that when you sit down in the morning? And your mind's like in 4th gear? And it takes you like 8 rounds just to like, you know, so you waste like 8 rounds just getting to the mode of goodness. Where if you started in the mode of goodness, then you'd be right there with Krishna. And you're just like getting through the jungle. So you're chanting like 8 rounds, getting through the jungle, and finally, you know, like in the 9th round, you finally hear the mantra. And that was that's not the best use of 8 rounds, is it, to get through the jungle? So we'll talk about that later. To really be present requires that you leave your ordinary world aside while doing japa. Now this is really, 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 really important. It's really what? Important. We talk about evaluation. Here's a really good evaluation. How absorbed are you in Krishna's world when you're chanting? And how absorbed are you not in your own world? You see? You could answer your question. Whose world are we supposed to be absorbed in? The world of name, guna, the qualities, the lila, nama, the form, rupa. That's where we're supposed to be when we're chanting. In that world. You want to say something about that? Entering Krishna's world?
I was going to tell a story.
Okay.
It has a lot to do
With
being present.
Okay.
So, some of you may have heard this story anywhere. It's a good story. So there was one time Krishna was waiting for his cowherd friends to come and play. They were a little bit delayed, you know. sometimes that can happen, even in the spiritual world. So Narada Muni was present. So he said, my Lord, I can actually bring 100 pure souls that are just ready to come and join you in your Leela. I can bring them. And Krishna said, okay, before you bring them, I want you to bring one person named Kailash. Bring him. And then you can bring the rest. So, okay. He went to your world, found Kailash, said, you are so fortunate. Krishna wants you to come to the spiritual world. Oh, my dear Krishna, he was a devotee of Krishna. Oh, my Lord, this is so wonderful. So let's go. Just one thing. You see, I have two children, one son and one daughter, and I just have to get them married. So could you I really want to go with Krishna, but if you just maybe give me a year, and I can take care of it. And Narada said, okay. So he came back after a year, and he said, so Kailash, you ready to go? Krishna is waiting. Because that for a year, it's like, still the cowherd voice haven't quite gotten there. And so he said, yes, I'm ready to go. It's just that, well, now my son and my daughter are married, but I just wanted, I've never seen grandchildren in my life. I just wanted to have my grandchildren. Everybody, it's just one thing. I really want to go. Definitely want to go. Narada says, well, all right. He came back. How long do you need? Just about 2 years, with the two children. Okay. So he came back after 2 years, and he's sitting there playing with his grandchildren, having such a good time. And Narada Muni comes, oh, yeah. Oh, Narada Muni, yes. Are you ready? Yes. It's just that, you see, my daughter-in-law, my mother, my wife, they don't get along. So I'm just going to have to build one house so that I can leave everything, and everything will be perfect. I'll leave everything behind perfectly. And just maybe a year. So, okay. But Kailash, no, I promise, I want to go, and this is just the last arrangement. His grandchildren are there. So he came back after a year, and he finds Kailash. And they had a separate house. And so, but they had a little dog, and so he was playing with the dog. And so Narada Muni says, Kailash, oh, Narada Muni, he had a heart attack. And he died thinking of the dog. So he took the body of the dog. But Narada Muni was so merciful that he came back. And he saw the dog. But the dog, found it really comfortable. He was really comfortable. Everybody was playing with him. And so we saw Narada Muni goes, stay away. So then the dog died, and he took birth as a snake because he was envious of the pure devotee. So then Narada Muni he was so merciful that he came back for the snake. And so the snake's, sitting there lamenting. He said, now I really want to go back to the spiritual world. I said, well, yes, you're going to have to finish this body, unfortunately. He said, I have a problem. Because since you told me to go back to the spiritual world, I'm really serious about it. I'm being very merciful to everyone. But then the children take advantage and they beat me with a stick. So then Narada Muni said, no, what you have to do is you just show your fangs. Don't bite them, just show your fangs. And then they won't hit you anymore. So we did that. We heard that last part many times by Prabhupada. So just show your fangs. We did that, and then he went back to the spiritual world. So the point is that if we're making plans, because especially with devotees, their tendency is more to think about the future. Especially many of you are young, so you're thinking, the future. Just got to finish this. If I finish this, then I'll be able to perform my devotional service, I'll be able to do everything. We were talking about that this morning. If I just do, 3-4 years of business, get some money, go to New York, go to Toronto, work very hard, 12 hours a day, save up some money, I'll come back here, get a house, live like a Brahmin, perfect Paka Brahmin. So, but the time never comes. The Krishna is so merciful, he keeps coming. But unfortunately, our material situation can become more and more complex. And then instead of becoming more attached to the holy name, our life becomes more complicated and there's no time to chant. And like we said yesterday, instead of chant, we say can. So the story to illustrate how we have to take advantage of being here and taking advantage of our spiritual life.
You know that saying, I don't know who said it, do what you can with what you have from where you are? You heard that? There's some politician or great leaders who do what you can with what you have from where you are. Yes?
Just one question, not during Japa time. If you're planning for a spiritual life, let's say you want to plan what your spiritual life is going to be 5 years ahead. Have some light on that?
Yeah, that's great. We should have goals and we should have intentions. Of course, we have to depend on Krishna, but that's not passion, that's smart. As long as we're in the mood that it depends on Krishna, but I should desire to always advance and be clear about how I want to advance and how I want my family to advance. That's fine. As long as we don't, this point is we can compromise we don't want to compromise spiritual principles to attain our spiritual goals. That wouldn't make sense. And sometimes we do that. So, we were talking about Japa as an opportunity to enter into whose world?
Krishna's world.
And what do we do with our world? Where does that go? It goes on the pause button, right? We pause, put the button on pause, we chant our rounds, and then we can take it off pause, and we can go back into our world. So while we're chanting, we go into Krishna's world. So how do you know if your chanting is being done well? Well, this is a very good way to tell. The more you are aware of the world you're in, the more you're aware of your body, the more you're aware of the past, the more you're aware of what is going on in your life, the more you're in your world. And the less you're aware of that, and the more you're thinking of the name, hearing, the quality, the form, the pastime, the more you're in Krishna's world. So whose world would you rather be in while you're chanting Japa? Seeing that you're in your world the rest of the day. Obviously, you'd rather be in Krishna's world. You'd rather be in Krishna's world the whole day, wouldn't you? But at least for those 2 hours. And whose world's better, his or ours?
Yes.
So, that's what it says here. We're not going to read it, and we're going to do a little exercise here. We're going to create an internal sacred space. What's this?
Sacred space.
What's that? The heart. Now, this is not sacred space. So, what we want to do, or at least make the effort to do when we're chanting, is identify those things which we want to bring into this space, and those things we want to keep out of this space, which is this space outside, which is not sacred. In other words, we're chanting, there's some thoughts in our mind, oh, this devotee said that, I don't know, how could she say that, etc. We don't want that in here. We want this out here. Because it's not, those are not sacred thoughts. We want them out of that realm of the sacred space of japa. And then we're thinking, oh Krishna, please take my heart. Please take my devotion. Please accept me. Those feelings, those thoughts, we want in here. Does that make sense? So now, let's make a list of some of the things which are not sacred, which some of the thoughts that may come to us while we're chanting that should not be allowed to enter into the internal space, sacred space. The heart is like the inner sanctum. You know what's that story, Marsh? When the devotee offended another devotee, was it when he was suffering from cholera, Thakur Gopal Chakravarti? I think there's some story, I forget which one it was, and then he was suffering and asked Lord Chaitanya for mercy. And Lord Chaitanya says, your heart is the most sacred place, and you've allowed envy to enter the most sacred place. The leper Vasudha? No. Someone offended a devotee, and then he suffered, and then he had... What? Japa. And then he asked Lord Chaitanya for mercy, and Lord Chaitanya said, your heart is the most sacred place. How have you allowed envy to enter your heart? So that's the kind of idea we're talking about. The heart is like a sacred inner sanctum. And here we have Krishna. We're bringing Krishna into this inner sanctum. It's like bringing Krishna into the bushes of Vrindavan. And then we're calling all these other things in to support and nourish. And we're keeping all these other things out. Like, so if you're impure, you can't join Krishna in Ras Leela, right? You know the story, the kirtan's going on, and when was it? Srivasa's mother was there. Was it Srivasa's mother or grandmother? No. She had snuck into the kirtan, and then they started the kirtan, and Lord Chaitanya said, the ecstasy is not coming, somebody impure is here. And they found that she was hiding under the bed or something? Hiding behind the basket, so they asked her to leave.
They didn't ask her to drag her out.
Oh, they dragged her out. They were pretty upset. So that's the idea. So we can give some examples of things, attitudes, thoughts, feelings, etc., which don't belong in our sacred space. They belong outside. What would be an example?
Fault finding?
Fault finding. Wow. Do you fault find? You're too young to fault find, right? This guy is good at fault finding. Fault finding is a really good thing to do while you're chanting japa, isn't it? What else is?
Thinking that you are better than others.
Thinking you're better than others. So now after making a list, you're all going to think, it's okay to think like this when I don't chant. It's just that I can't think like this while I chant. Right? That's not the point. Thinking I'm better than others, which can also mean I'm chanting so good, nobody's chanting as good as me right now. Anybody ever think like that? I'm such a good chanter, nobody could chant this good. Yeah, let me show everybody how well I'm chanting. What else don't we want in the sacred space? Pray. Yeah. Pride.
Unforgiving.
Unforgiving. Right. Example. Unforgiving. Holding that grudge. The most unfortunate thing is sometimes if you have a feeling like that, like a grudge, or you're really focused on how wrong somebody is, the more you get into Japa, the more wrong they seem. You ever had that experience? You're really getting into it, and you're getting really clear about how wrong they were the more you chant. And you're getting really clear about how right you were and how wrong they were with every mantra. You ever experienced that? It's like you're using the holy name to empower your anarthas. So we could put here a corollary. I'm right. He's wrong. Or I'm right about someone, not even he's wrong. I'm right about some matter of philosophy. I'm right about some managerial idea. I'm right about understanding what a person's motives are. It can be anything. What else? What? Anger. Anger. Don't understand. Anger. How do you spell anger? U-N-G-A-R? Anger or hunger? Put both down. I'm hungry.
Maybe he's angry because
I'm hungry. What else?
Chanting with enmity in the heart.
Enmity? Wow, this is a good one. I want to read something to you. If I can find it. There's a quote here. One of these pages I'm not about. And they're desperately begging Christians to uplift them. Yes, Mahatma.
If you're communicating from planning to central
Oh.
meditating central meditation.
Wow. Planning and meditating on sense gratification. Anybody do that? Or is he the only one?
All the time.
It's kind of hypocritical, isn't it? You actually look at these things? I mean, you wouldn't think that these are the kind of things that Hare Krishnas think about when they're praying to God.
Not being compassionate. Not being compassionate.
Not being compassionate. Okay, we'll stop here and now we'll ask you to identify. Well, if you want to look at this for a minute or write anything down that you feel relates to you, just get a basic idea of this. It's being, you photographing this, what's on the board? We're going to broadcast this on the internet and say, this is where the devotees in Guyana are at right now. This is what goes on in their hearts when they chant the holy name. We've got a long way to go. It's funny that we're talking about pride. Maybe, Mars, maybe you have to tell us something about here. You know, about we have this idea that we chant the holy name offensively, and then instead of the creeper of bhakti developing, we come up with all weeds, so that the chanting can actually produce the opposite result. And it seems like we've come up with some really nasty weeds here. Can you just tell us how to avoid this or why this happens?
Well, as far as how to avoid it, every morning, we're meditating on it. We're supposed to be meditating on it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Nurdaiva Nidvishami Hajini Namuraga. I have no attraction. This holy name, first he's meditating, this holy name, Ikadrishi, Tavakri Bhagavan Namahi. So much mercy is being manifested in this holy name, but I have no attraction. Why don't I have attraction? Because my mood is not proper. Everything that we see here, pride, resentment, this is all product of not having the mood that is recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is that mood? Being humble. Just like Arjuna, being humble doesn't mean that I cower in a corner and just. It means that Arjuna became very humble and killed millions of soldiers. So humble means I submit myself to the desire of the Lord. What is the desire of the Lord? The Lord is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And his desire is that one take this holy name and make it your life and soul. Sarvatma Snapanam, that's what it means. I bathe myself, I'm totally bathing myself in the nectar of the holy name. So this is what he's asking. So what does that require? Humility, tolerance, and I have to tolerate the things that are happening in my life, just like tolerate the urges to do all these things. They're trying to enter into my mind is desperately grasping to hold on to one of these things because it's so important. This is so important that so-and-so did this, resentment, unforgiving. It's so important that everyone sees me, just like I learned from Mahatma Prabhu. I'm going to put my hand right here. Everybody's going to see. We're thinking while we're getting into the position, chant perfect Japa, just see, I hope everyone can see how straight I'm sitting. I mean, even the greatest yogis would be envious. I wonder if everybody's seeing how I'm almost chanting silently. They probably think I'm approaching the position of Haridas Thakur. So, all these things, because we're not tolerating. We're not tolerating the urges, as Rupa Goswami says, that Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, all these urges are coming from the body, and then those are urges coming from the body, from the mind, anger, frustration, and all these things we could probably fit all these into three categories. Dana, Jana, Sundari. What Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says later, to avoid, if you want to have an attraction, give up the dana, wealth of information, material wealth, jana, let everybody see, jana, fault finding, because I want somebody to be my follower, therefore this person's not my follower, yet they seem to be superior. Other people think they're superior, therefore I'll figure out why they're inferior. Thinking I'm better, jhana, I'm the best. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kavita, give up sense gratification, fruitive activity. So this is his recommendation, respecting all living entities. So many of these things can be eliminated just by being respectful to others and not desiring any respect for myself. And also, Ma Janmane Janmanishvara. This is all I want to do. I'm hungry, but we want to be hungry for the holy name. So, if we just follow the Shikshastika, sometimes we repeat things every day, but we don't think about them. Not just like we're talking about repeating the holy name every day, we're not thinking about it. We say the Shikshastika every day, and we're not thinking, what does this mean? What is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conveying? We rattle it off both in Sanskrit and English, and then, okay, that's what we do from 5:05 to 5:13. Now, what do we do from 5:13 to 5:17? Okay, I'll do that. Okay, I did it. So this is, we have to be very thoughtful, meditating in the holy name. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes a little deeper. He says, for all these things to be avoided, Krishna, place me as an atom at your lotus feet. Whatever it takes, I will accept that if I can occupy that position. that most blissful, wonderful position where humility will abound, where all the wonderful qualities will come out. If I'm taking shelter of your lotus feet, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, chanting the holy name, the mercy of the deities. So these are things that we can do that will bring us to the point of chanting nicely and conserving our internal space.
So, imagine, ladies, one day your husband came home, said, I want to introduce you to someone, this lovely young lady. And he says, she's going to be moving in with us, she's my girlfriend. How would you feel? Chai Prabhu. From my room. So, think of these things something like that. We have a relation with Krishna, and we're bringing these things in there, and he's not too happy about it. Or guys, if your wife came home with another, muscle-bound guy, it's my boyfriend. You don't have muscles like him. So you don't want anything disrupting your relationship. So these things obviously are disrupting the relationship we have with the Holy Name. They're disrupting it when we chant, and they're disrupting it when we don't chant. So these belong far outside our heart. Oh, Gopal Chapel. Gopal Chapel? How have you allowed your heart to be poisoned? It's your most sacred place. You don't want to take poison into your heart. Okay, so now let us think about what we would like to put in the sacred space. What kind of feelings and thoughts would we like in the sacred space? What would nourish our chanting? Concentration. This guy's good. How old are you? 9. You're good. You want to teach this class? Come on. Well, this is like saying, Krishna, now I'm sitting down to chant, and I'm going to bring these things into the relationship. I am promising you now for the next 2 hours I'm going to bring concentration into this sacred place. What else do we want to bring in? Devotion or emotion? Emotion. Very good. Emotion. In other words, feeling. We don't want to just chant, and at the end of 16 rounds we say, Prabhu, how did you feel? And say, I didn't feel anything. Love. We want to bring love, affection.
Seriousness.
Seriousness.
Purity.
Or purity. Purity? Did you say that? Purity. Sincerity. Compassion. Nice. Forgiveness. And what else? Faith. Is that right? Faith? Forgiveness and faith? Gratitude.
Full surrender.
Full take one. Krishna, this is a good person to bring in. I thought he was already in there. Krishna in the heart. Yeah. You guys have come a long way since this last chart. Look at the difference. You guys are amazing. Give yourself a big hand. So you get the idea. Now the thing is, we have the choice. We have the what? Choice. To bring in the fault-finding and the envy and the pride. And we have the choice to bring in these emotions. And we also have the choice whether we're going to be thinking about, well, what happened yesterday, what we have to do today, what we have to do tomorrow. We have the choice also. So when we prepare to chant our rounds, it's best we don't just begin mindlessly, but we stop and we think for a moment. What am I trying to create here? What am I trying to achieve? What am I doing? What do I want to bring into my sacred space? If you create these kinds of meditations, even for a few seconds before you chant, it changes everything. Otherwise, you go into that mode of just chanting to try to like overcome the passion that's going on. So this is calming things down and bringing in the right mood and getting rid of the wrong mood, right from the very beginning. It's very powerful. So what I personally do is when I begin to chant my rounds, I pray to Krishna. I say, Krishna, I am vowing, or I'm making a sankalpa, an intention, that for the next 2 hours, I will not bring anything into this sacred space of our relationship while we're chanting other than things that support it. Then, if I catch myself or my mind bringing things in, I become aware of it very soon. Because I made the intention. So you can try that. You can meditate on some of these qualities, or you can meditate on what you want to bring into your japa. And then you can tell Krishna, this is my promise to you, that during my period of chanting with you, this is what I want to bring in. And this is what I want to keep out. Does that sound like a good idea? Yeah, try that tomorrow morning. You have another assignment tomorrow morning. That's to apply everything else in addition to what you already learned, to apply these other things. So this is very, very powerful in that problem of controlling the mind. Yes?
Question in connection to sacred space. I've learned that it's advisable and important to do visible wrongs, invisible wrongs. So there they are
What wrongs?
visible wrongs. So other devotees.
Visible, or meaning that other people see you?
Yeah, especially when in a leadership position, so other people could follow. Will it be advisable to create a sacred spot that is secluded, that no one is wrong, especially the one in disturbance? Can you shed some light?
You're asking whether if you're a leader, it's advisable to
especially
chant?
in a leadership position, is that you have to do visible wrongs. So would it be advisable to create a sacred spot for Japa that is secluded?
I'll let Maharaj answer that. Did you hear the question? He was saying, if you're a leader, should your sacred place be visible to other devotees so they can see your chanting? Is that the question?
Well, we have
Or is it-
learned that you have to do visible wrongs. I've learned that.
Are you saying, as a leader, you should do visible rounds? So, then are you saying...
So it is advisable to create a secret spot that is secluded.
Then he's saying if you create a sacred spot that's not visible to other devotees, then you're not...
That you will not be disturbed.
First of all, as Mahatma Prabhu said to Tridandi, that maybe the temple is your sacred spot. Of course, as we're seeing here, the internal sacred space is more important because this is like a hierarchy. Environment, you have to be environmentally in a sacred place, physically in a sacred space, mentally in a sacred space, and on the level of consciousness, of the heart, chitta, you have to be in a sacred space. So, it is recommended. A leader can be in a sacred space, can be in a temple. What can be more sacred than the deity of Srila Prabhupada? But if one is a leader, if one is a good leader, then even if your sacred space happens to be, at least for a certain part of your japa, in some room or some place where one may be taking a walk, if the devotees know that, then just like Srila Prabhupada would take a walk every morning. Some devotees would come. Not everyone would see him. But everybody knew that he's taking a walk. He's speaking about Krishna, he's chanting his rounds. He would chant his rounds before we were even awake. But that would be like opportunity for devotees to chant and hear from the spiritual master. So, the most important thing, if something is sacred, if we're doing something right, Krishna's within the heart of all devotees. Just like the other day I told the story of Japa Gopal, that he offended, he was so envious of Shivas, because Shivas was having these internal kirtans, all this ecstasy was coming out, and he couldn't go in. I'm a Brahmin, I can't go in. So he put all this paraphernalia for worshiping Durga outside of Shivas' steps. And Shivas came out and he called all of his neighbors, said, just see, I'm a Durga worshiper. And everybody knew, you know, whatever Japa Gopal would have done, they all knew who Shivas was. So if our leaders are pure in their consciousness, in their heart, and their habits, it may or may not be that they are physically visible at every moment. However, I find that most leaders, most good leaders, do chant either all of their japa or at least a good part of their japa with the devotees. And it's a good thing to do. It also enforces us. It enforces our own japa and enforces our own habits in japa to be fixed and giving that example for others. I know when I chant with the devotees, sometimes I do look around just to make sure everybody's chanting, not talking. And so a leader not only leads by their example, but also by trying to make sure that good habits are being kept in place. Is that okay?
Hare Krishna. I was instrumental in advocating visible chanting because that is instrumental in asking devotees, especially those devotees, I'm instrumental in training to become future leaders. So I asked them that they should do visible chanting. Do visible chanting so that everyone can see them chanting visibly in the temple hall. Because who will have faith in someone who they do not see chanting? That is the reason why I advocate that. And I also heard a lot of leaders, they are doing that.
Thank you. So, we've hit about the halfway mark. So you know what we do at the halfway mark? We all get up, and we find a different place to sit, and all the people in the back come to the front. There's a prayer in which the devotee petitions the Lord for pure love. Yet we may sometimes chant in another mood, a mood disconnected from the meaning and intent of the Maha Mantra. This kind of chanting tends to be more of a mindless repetition of sounds than a prayer full of emotion. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, real chanting is not lip deep, it is heart deep. And Prabhupada said the quality of one's chanting depends on feeling. So what Bhaktisiddhanta meant by not lip deep is that you can say the holy name, but you may not be feeling anything. And that real emotion is expressed more from the heart than from the lips. Because that's where feeling comes from. Now I can say I love you, but I may not mean it. And if I say I love you and I don't mean it, you will probably feel that I don't love you, because it's not a feeling that I have. So even though I express it, it's only expressed with the lips. So sometimes we're chanting, and it's only lip deep. It only goes this deep. It doesn't go here. So Bhaktisiddhanta said the holy name enters the ear, and then the proper way of chanting is it enters the ear, then it goes to the heart first. And then from the heart it moves the lips. At least that's the way it's supposed to be. So when you're chanting from the heart is first, and that's moving the lips with the proper mood, the proper emotion. Does that make sense? Anybody ever tell you something, you didn't believe them? Like a salesperson? Because I really like you. I really think this will be good for you. I'm getting you a special deal because you're special. I've never met anybody as special as you. And you know, the person's just making that up. It's not coming from the heart. It's just saying that. So we don't want to chant that way. That would be not genuine. We want to bring the mantra from the heart and then let the heart bring it to the lips. That's the meaning of not lip deep, but heart deep. Should I write that down? No?
Yes.
Yes.
Should I write it down?
Yes.
I'll write it down because it's a good mantra to remember. Completely forgot what I was going to say. It was good too. I'll remember. If it's important, I'll remember. Feeling is first expressed in the heart before it's expressed in words. If you say something you don't mean, it doesn't communicate. It's when you speak from the heart that it enters another's heart. The same is true with chanting. Krishna is moved by love, not by parrot-like repetition. Our challenge is not just to get our rounds done, it is to bring devotional meditation into our chanting. One philosopher said, what's spoken by the lips only goes in the ear and out the ear, and what's spoken from the heart enters another person's heart. That's why Prabhupada was so powerful, because his words were entering everyone's heart. So it was coming from pure bhakti. Chanting is a sacred communication. It's not a ritual. It's not a mechanical, mindless, robotic process. It's an offering of the heart. It's a pleading for mercy, a begging to be accepted by the Lord. It is a cry of the soul to be engaged eternally in the Lord's service. The emotions these moods invoke nourish our chanting. So could you imagine chanting 16 rounds completely in this mood? Pleading for mercy, begging to be accepted, crying to be engaged eternally in the Lord's service. That's from the heart. That's what chanting is meant to be. And you remember, we began by saying yesterday that one of the obstacles, if not the biggest obstacle we face, is just this getting 16 rounds done somehow or other. That mentality, That I took a vow, it's my duty to somehow or other chant 16 rounds, no matter how, just get them done. And then when we do that, we disconnect from the heart, from the feeling that the mantra is expressing. What did Prabhupada say was the meaning of the mantra? Oh Radha, oh Krishna, please engage me in your service. He also said it's like the crying of a child for its mother. So that's the mood we're supposed to be in when we're chanting. You have a question? Yes?
It's a quick question. Someone may think that if this is not inattention also, if I'm thinking of all these
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah. It's a very good question. He's saying, well, if I'm thinking that I'm crying for Krishna, or I'm thinking, Krishna, please accept me, or any of these moods, then is that not inattention? Then I'm distracted from hearing the mantra. So we're going to talk about that. Let's give them a big hand for a good question. You get 3 free sweet balls tomorrow for breakfast if you're here.
Thank you.
Anyone who asks a good question, the better the question, the more sweet balls you get. Devotees often ask, isn't this interesting, should I be thinking of anything when I chant, or should I just hear the mantra? And if I just hear the mantra, how can I entertain certain thoughts, that nourish proper emotions? So I'll answer this question with a story from my childhood. When I was young, I had a friend who lived across the street. But the street that we lived on was a little bit busy, so in order to get across the street, my mother would take me by the hand and cross me, because if I crossed by myself, I might run out in front of a car and get run over. And since my mother didn't want me to get run over, she probably would have, when I became a devotee, then she might have thought, I wish I would have let him get run over. So she would take me across the street. I would play with my friend for hours and hours and hours. And then when I wanted to come home, I would come, I'd be on the other side of the street, and I would yell, Mommy! Mommy! As loud as I could. And she could hear me in the house. And then she would come and get me. And that's all I did was yell, Mommy. But what I meant was, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I want to come home, I need you to help me cross the street. That's what I meant, but I didn't say that. I just said, Mommy, because that's all I had to say. Because I knew what I meant, and she knew what I meant. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So when the feeling is there, you don't have to be thinking what you're feeling, because you're already feeling it. Correct? Now, initially you might be thinking, I should be feeling something. And maybe you're not feeling anything. So you might tell yourself, Mahatma, you should chant with some devotion, because you're really bored right now and you're not feeling anything. So we can invoke some devotion. We have that, we can put effort into chanting with devotion. Like we said, all the things that we wanted to bring into our sacred space, we can choose. Maybe it's a little artificial, but we can choose that. But as we go deeper, then the feelings are naturally there. So, we're going to go over some of the meanings. If you turn the page, I just told the story, so we're going to go down. And if you go to the second paragraph, actually the third paragraph, here's a list of some of the meanings of the Maha Mantra. And this is not limited to just these meanings. You probably have also different feelings when you're chanting. Chanting is like the genuine cry of a child for its mother. Please engage me in your service. Oh my friend. Oh my friend. Prabhupada said this is one of the meanings of chanting. Oh my friend. Oh my friend. That's a feeling when we're chanting. That Krishna's my eternal friend. And I'm calling out to him. My long lost friend. Another meaning. Please accept me. Why would we pray to be accepted? Because we turned our back on Krishna. When you turn your back on somebody, you go back to them at some point if you want to reestablish a relationship and say, please accept me. I'm sorry. A lot of devotees in very advanced stages, they chant with intense remorse that they turn their back on Krishna. They chant with remorse that for so many years they made offenses to the holy name while chanting. That's what they're feeling while they're chanting. Just remorseful, just sad. I've turned my back on Krishna. Krishna, please forgive me for that. Please accept me, oh my friend. It's that nice to be in that mood when you're chanting. It's very sweet. Please pull my heart to you. What a nice meditation. You're giving Krishna your heart. You're asking, take it. I've been holding on to my heart and filling it up with all kinds of material desires, personal desires. Krishna, I just want you to take it. I'm giving you my heart. I'm giving you my devotion. That's the prayer of devotee. Pull my heart to you. Pull my heart away from me to you. May I please develop a taste for serving you. Please attract my mind and free me from material bondage. Please make me qualified for serving you. Please show me how to serve you. I beg you be pleased with me. So we're going to chant now. And we're going to try to imbibe these feelings. And enter into the mood. And what I will do is, as you're chanting, I will read some of these. So you can get into your mood, start chanting. Think of a mood you want to be in while you're chanting. You can look at one of these while you're chanting, whatever. And then as you're chanting, I'm going to do some suggesting. And as when I do the suggesting, keep chanting, don't stop. And remember, we're going to sit straight, right? Good posture. Are we going to look all around the room? Yes or no?
No.
Evoke some prayer. Evoke some prayerful mood. So, when we show our feelings to Krishna, then we become satisfied because the devotion we give out is the devotion we experience. There was a song in the 60s by the Beatles that said, "The love you take is equal to the love you make." So sometimes we're chanting and we feel that we're not feeling anything. We're just chanting and we think, this is dry, I don't feel anything. So the purpose of this exercise was to help you understand that you can go from that position of not feeling and manifest feelings through understanding the different meanings of the mantra, because contained within the meaning are different feelings. So let's say I'm chanting and I'm not feeling anything, then I reflect, what is the meaning of the mantra? So the meaning of the mantra is, Krishna, please accept me. Krishna, Krishna, uplift me, take my heart. Please give me a taste, please make me qualified. So just by connecting with the meaning, we evoke emotion. And then when we evoke emotion, we get to experience that emotion that we evoke, and then no longer will we feel or say, I'm not feeling anything. chanting and we're not connected with the meaning, we're invoking emotion, and we're waiting for the holy name to kick in so we get a taste or we feel something. Right? Just chanting and waiting. When's it going to come? Like you take a medicine. When am I going to feel better? So I'm chanting. When am I going to feel better? But sometimes the reason it's not coming is because we're not connected with the meaning. And so when we connect with the meaning, the feelings that we evoke bring more bhakti, and then we start feeling bhakti, and the chanting gets better. Sounds simple, doesn't it? That's because it is simple. Sometimes devotees say, Prabhu, when I chant, I don't feel anything. To which I reply, and how does that feel? Not to feel anything. And at that point they realize we're always feeling something. We're never feeling nothing, because when we say I'm not feeling anything, really what we're saying is I feel bad that I'm not feeling anything. So we're never at a time not feeling anything. We may be feeling bad that we're not feeling anything. And if we're feeling bad that we're not feeling anything, connect with the meaning. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says we should be connected with the sadhya, the goal of the chanting. So he says, you can ask yourself, why am I doing this? I'm chanting, I'm not feeling anything. Why am I doing this? What is the goal of this? What's the purpose? Then you start to connect. The purpose is to reawaken my relationship. And the more I connect with that, and its intention and purpose, the more the feeling comes. And that's a lot better than chanting like a robot, isn't it? With that chanting, did you feel better than a robot the last 15 minutes? It's sweet. The holy name is sweet, isn't it? And it's sweeter the more you connect with what it is. And if we take that, we can say the same thing for all aspects of bhakti. A lot of times we do things and we're not in the right mood. We may be cooking and we're not in the right mood. We may be at arti, doing arti, and our mind is scattered, we're not in the mood. And whenever that happens, how do we feel? We don't feel good. So as soon as we connect with the proper mood, the proper feelings come. So, we are going to go to the next section. This also relates to feeling on a very deep level, and we want to examine faith. One of the meanings of the mantra is Krishna, just allow me to surrender. You won't be able to totally put your heart into chanting if you don't fully trust Krishna. The Maha Mantra is a prayer for complete surrender. It is a plea to become an insignificant servant and allow your master to do with you as he pleases. But do you really, truly want this? What if these prayers were fulfilled? Would that be a problem for you? In other words, is surrender something you fear at some level? If you are afraid you would be unable to handle surrender, how can you fully give yourself to a prayer that is asking you for the very thing you fear? This is the great paradox we must overcome in order to reach the stage of pure chanting. Many, many times when we do our Japa retreats, which are 4.5 days, as devotees go deeper in their chanting, they start to experience the powerful effect that the Maha Mantra is having on them, and it's starting to open up their heart and propel them with the desire to surrender more, to give up more, to become more detached, and they start to become a little concerned that they're not ready yet for that much bhakti. And it creates a quandary in their mind, because now they've hit a point where their heart is opening, but at the same time, they're feeling a little afraid, a little concerned. That is called the offense of maintaining material attachments in spite of understanding so many instructions on this matter. What if you chanted around so well that you just felt like giving everything to Krishna? And then you thought, I don't know if I'm ready for this. This is intense. It's going too fast. There's too much happening too fast. If you hit that point, what is that going to do to the quality of your chanting? Maybe you got the quality of your chanting up to a 7, and you think, if I stay on this level, I'm going to be, the things that I'm attached to, I'm going to lose interest in them. And I don't know if I'm ready. Maybe I should only chant on a level 3.5 right now. And you could just reverse the power of your chanting because you're afraid, if I surrender, this chanting is going to make me want to surrender, and I'm afraid to surrender. Maharaj, can you talk about that?
It's actually, I had one disciple, he's from a Jewish background, and he read this one verse, which many of you know, or we've all heard about it. Yasyaham anuvinami harishetadhanam shanai. That when Krishna especially favors someone, this is what Srila Prabhupada said when he had this dream. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, told him to take sannyasa. He said he woke up and said, it's horrible. I'm going to have to give up, nice prasadam every day, somebody taking care of everything. But then he began to meditate on it. And he thought, this is how I can fulfill the desire of my spiritual master. How can I please Krishna? So anyway, Prabhupada spoke about that verse, and so this devotee came up to me very concerned. I read this verse, and I'm not ready for this. Can you tell Krishna, please wait, hold off for a while? I said, well, most likely, if you're not ready, Krishna's not going to take you to that point. But if you are ready, you should feel grateful. You should feel grateful that Krishna is actually bestowing upon you. Just like when we chant the holy name, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in this famous song, Udila Aruna, that Jivara Kalyana Saranakam Jagati Ashiye Madhuranam, that the holy name, by its mercy, by its causeless mercy, has descended and is bestowing upon me. We say in the Shikshastika, it said, is bestowing upon me all these blessings. So the fact that we're here, the fact that we've been introduced to Krishna consciousness, this is Krishna's desire. And if we don't, why should we limit our faith? Yet we should be, in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, it says, the demigods are praying to Krishna, saying that, Krishna, you want to fulfill the desires of all your devotees. We say, oh, that's good, I like that. And he says, but if those desires will cause the devotee to again become enmeshed, become absorbed in fruitive activities and material desires, Krishna instead he gives them his lotus feet on their heads, even though they may not desire that. So, faith means that actually Lord Chaitanya describes faith, Shraddha Shabde, Vishvasya Kahi Sridhiri Nishtoy, Krishna Bhakti Haila Sarvakama Kritavai. That faith actually means that I have unflinching, unswerving conviction that by serving Krishna, all subsidiary activities, everything else will be arranged. Of course, that requires intelligence, that requires instruction from the spiritual master, that requires consultation, that requires contemplating what does that mean if I'm a brahmachari, sannyasi, grihastha. But what did we come to Krishna consciousness for? And Srila Prabhupada said, what did he say so many times? What is the difficulty? So the real difficulty of this lack of faith is being caused within the mind. I just wanted to mention something else on the point of feeling. There's two prayers. We don't have time really to read them. I'd like to read them, but this is a short Japa workshop. But you know these two prayers. One on developing feeling. One of them is developing feeling in lamentation, because we have the tendency to lament. So also you can approach Krishna, because we have the tendency to reflect on the past. There's a way to approach Krishna from the past. And because we have the tendency to hanker for something in the future, there's a way to approach Krishna. So Narottam Das Thakur, he says, Hari Hari Pipala. I've wasted my life. I've wasted my life. I've got this valuable human birth. And what am I doing? Drinking poison. The holy name is descended from Goloka Vrindavan. And the Lord is saving even the most fallen, even as far as Guyana. I have no attraction. But I have faith that Krishna is the only solution. Therefore, Krishna, please don't keep me away from your reddish lotus feet. So we may have some sense of insecurity, but that insecurity is caused not by Krishna, it's caused by being absorbed in matter, being absorbed in material desires. So simply by hearing and understanding and chanting properly, this misunderstanding of the mind, this reversal, which is also spoken about in the Bhagavatam, Ishara Pitasya Vibhatiyo Ashmiti, that when we're in material consciousness, everything is reversed. Krishna, I want you to be my servant. Krishna, you do this for me. So this reflection, self-analysis, oh, Krishna, why have I done this? Just don't kick me away from your lotus feet. Don't kick me away from your holy name. Let me become absorbed. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, Kali Habi, Dinamar, that when will the day be mine? When I can chant the holy name without offenses. So this is how we develop feeling. Both those things that are coming from the past, our lamentations, we lament that I don't have the taste for the holy name, let me develop it. And those hankerings, yes, I hanker for when this Shikshastika becomes a reality in my mind, in my life, in my consciousness. So in this way, we can develop, strengthen, fortify our faith through the holy name. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So Krishna, he's very wonderful, and we have the faith that we give our heart to him, everything in our life will be wonderful. And as Maharaj said, Krishna knows what we need, and he'll give us what we need. He won't take away from us what we need to go on and live peacefully. We need to have that faith so we can just give ourselves to Krishna and be happy that Krishna will take care of us in the best way possible, just as we need it. Otherwise, how can we chant properly? We'll be chanting the whole time and trying to control Krishna and say, Krishna, don't do this, and do that, and don't do this. And what about this? And make this person do this. You ever do that when you chant? Tell Krishna what to do? Krishna, take care of this devotee here. It's bothering me.
Keep him at a distance.
Keep him at a distance. And Krishna, don't allow this to happen. Give me this. We just have to have faith in the holy name that Krishna will do whatever is best, and we don't have to tell him. He'll do what's best for us if we give ourselves to him. Then you can get, the holy name is called Sarva Mangala, it's all auspicious. And you can just be in the mood, I'm just chanting, this is the most auspicious thing. I just get absorbed in hearing, this is the most auspicious thing that I can be doing. I don't have to control the holy name. So I'd like you to turn, we're going to skip section 8 and go to section 9. And what we're going to talk about here in section 9, actually I think we all need to stand up because you look like you're getting really... Everybody stand up. Holy name. This is the last section. What we're talking about now about the other 22 hours of our life? Is that creating a supportive environment, or is that undermining? Is what we're doing helping us or hurting us? So that's called aligning your life with holy name. Because if you have everything lined up properly, and your life is totally in the mode of passion and ignorance, then you go to chant your rounds, and what do we say happens? Your mind is, it's totally in passion. And when your mind's in passion, you can't hear. You have to be in goodness to chant. So if you live a life in passion, it works against your ability to give your heart into focus on the holy name. The biggest challenge you now face in improving your japa is to steadily employ the principles and practices you have just learned. What can you do to ensure that you take advantage of these lessons as well as continue to improve your japa throughout your life? In order to properly answer this question, you need to look at your lifestyle. Everything you do has an effect on your consciousness. Everything you do has an effect on your consciousness. That's called samskara. Have you heard the word samskara before? You're familiar with that? Like how many samskaras are there in Hinduism? 12? 6?
16.
16 samskaras. So one of the meaning of samskara is impression. Just by seeing something, it makes an impression on your heart. By hearing something, it makes an impression on your heart. A devotee told the story. He went to see some very, very big guru in India. And this devotee is a sannyasi. When he walked into that ashram, the guru was there with his disciples giving a class. The guru stopped, walked off his asana, gave the devotee a seat, gave him like flower garlands, gave him water, had his disciples serve him. And so this disciple said, I thought I understood something about humility, but when I actually saw it with my eyes, it made an intense impression on my heart. And it actually changed me because of what I saw. So all day we're seeing things, we're interacting in different situations. It's making impressions on us. One time Srila Prabhupada said, you shouldn't read news magazines because you'll see the faces of all these politicians, and by seeing their face, you'll get polluted. And he was serious. It was totally serious. One time, a doctor came in when Prabhupada was sick, and he asked his servant, what do you think about the doctor? And the servant didn't know how to answer because he wasn't an expert in understanding doctors. And so he explained that to Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, no, you saw his face. What did his face look like? What impression did you get from seeing his face? You know, the face is the index of the mind. So everything's creating impressions. Everything we do. So that's an important statement to remember. Okay, where are we? Okay, we're on the last page, last line. We all have experienced both wonderful and difficult times with chanting. These results were usually precipitated to one degree or another by what was going on in our lives. As we gave the example, if we're in passion, we tend to be in passion when we're chanting. If we're doing wonderful service, it tends to enhance our chanting. Good japa doesn't exist in a vacuum. A life of poor sadhana and little service is reflected in your japa. So how do you stay on track? A lot depends on how important japa is to you. The more important it is in your life, the more concerned you become about doing things that will nourish your chanting and avoiding activities that might have a negative effect on your japa. In other words, if you want to improve your japa, you start to become more aware of things going on in your life that could have a negative effect. Just like at night, there's so many things you could do at night. But when you become more concerned about improving your japa, you automatically become more concerned about what you do at night, about how late you stay up, what you're going to do before you go to bed. It just naturally follows. The more you want to improve your japa, the more you become concerned about what you do in your life. For example, I have in my so my experience is if I go in my recording studio at night, I lose track of time and I can easily stay up to 11, 12, sometimes I stay up to 2 in the morning. And I went in at 8 o'clock and I thought I had been in there 2 hours and I looked at my watch, it was 2 in the morning. So then I realized that I have to leave there by 8 o'clock. Because if I stay there later, I'm going to stay up late at night. And it's going to affect my job in the next morning because I'll get up late. But I didn't really confront that until I went to the Japa retreat and became more concerned about the quality of my Japa. And as I became more concerned, immediately I became more aware of the things I was doing that were having a negative effect on my Japa. Even though I kind of understood that before, but when I became more serious, immediately I would catch myself. So now, in my life, I don't do things late at night. By 8, 8:30, if I'm working on something, I just stop. Because I have a nature where I can just keep working, and it will keep me up late at night. Unless there's some emergency, I have to do it. So that's just one example from my own life. Okay, so
minutes. In the meantime, we'll get ready for the Abhishek ceremony. Immediately after the Abhishek ceremony, we'll be leaving. Some of the devotees will still be here for the arti and like that, but Maharaj is scheduled for a force program that I know of at the Teachers Training College, Sir Butler College in Cummings Lodge, next to the University of Guyana. We will need to be there for 7:30 with a few of the Matajis. And also our Chakraprabhu will be on live on channel 2. He and maybe some other devotee will be there for our interview also this evening. And of course, at 9 p.m., Maharaj, myself, Radha Prabhu, and one of the Matajis will be on NCN from 9 to 10. That will be a call-in program. So you can be in front of your television, have your telephone close to you, get your questions, get questions that will excite the public, that they will want to call in and also ask questions. So Maharaj, you can please give me the assistant. His Holiness Bhakti Vasudev Maharaj ki, Prabhupada ki.
So, we're happy to be here. And essentially, we are very much on schedule, so we wouldn't want to take much of your time. But we'd like to express our gratitude to the devotees in Guyana. Actually, before even I dreamt of coming to Guyana, I had one of our devotees in West Africa who also was like one of my mentors, because I have several mentors. And he was one of my mentors, and he originally is actually from Guyana. Although he's been in the UK, but somehow or the other happened to be able to have the association. And I saw how humble he was. And I presume that all the Guyanese were actually very humble people. And as I came here, I could see that exceptional quality in the devotees here, and even your political elites, they're exceptionally different from people that I have met. And especially when people become so-called big in society, they have a different approach to people who are religious minded. And my observation here is becoming something different. And the challenge to that effect is that you guys have a lot of work to do, because there are a lot of opportunities for preaching in this country. And we have to create a team that will be able to go out every day to reach out to people, to cultivate the people, to bring them close to Krishna. Because everyone in this material world is actually a prodigal son or a prodigal daughter of Lord Krishna. They stray from the path of devotional service. They take into other processes of trying to become happy in this material world. And therefore, every moment of their lives is replete with so much of horrible grief that knows no bound. And therefore today, we are performing this preliminary ceremony to be able to bring out Lord Jagannath. But why are we doing this? It's to reach out to people, to bring them close to Krishna, to bring them back, to reclaim them back to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And so, we should not just perform the ceremony and go home without really having a deep reflection of what we have done and what the implication is on our own lives and the collective upliftment of the people of Guyana. On Saturday, we'll be going out with the lordships. And then the idea is to be able to create a viable future for the people who will have the darshan of their lordship. And so with this in mind, we should actually be contemplating when we're doing this bathing ceremony. Because if you go to Jagannath, you find that this is the same thing that has been going on over the years. Before they bring out the Lord, I mean, it's a personal approach to the worship of the Lord. Now, we perform this preliminary stage or the bathing ceremony because every one of us, each time we want to go out for fun, we take a clean bath, put on clean clothes, nice clothes, sometimes even perfume ourselves, isn't it? Why? Because we're preparing to go out there to be allowed by the people, to be appreciated by the people. So we take a shower. So here also, we're very personal in our dealings with the Lord, and because we're preparing for the Lord to go out and give His darshan to people, we want to perform this ceremony today to prepare the Lord for that. Isn't it? Is this not something personal in relationship to the worship of the Supreme? Now we do the things we do to ourselves to the Supreme. And it's like every morning we have to actually give them a shower because we bathe every day. And therefore, if someone has some deities in his home and does not actually, better not to have deities at home.
Then you have deities at home and you don't take care of them. Because the other things you do to yourself every day, if you invoke Krishna to your home in the form of a murti, you should be able to do that to their Lordship or to Krishna. And so, it is very auspicious for those of us who have the opportunity to be able to witness this ceremony today, and we should take it very seriously, at heart, and see what that would imply to our own life now and even in the future. So we encourage everyone to be part of this ceremony at heart, because not all of us are going to go there to do the debating. And at least we are witnessing. And witnessing is also the same like you directly participating, because it's not different. You're like, we chant Krishna's name, but ordinarily speaking, the name of somebody is different from the person. You can't chant John, 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 and you experience John. You experience the sweetness of John. You experience the opulence of John. But we chant Krishna's name, and we can experience all of its opulences. So, similarly, by being around at just a close proximity, when this ceremony is going on, we are actually participating, and we should be rest assured that we're getting the full benefit of full participation. So let's be with the Lord, let's be with the ceremony at heart, as well as we are supposed to be here physically. When we're here, let's not allow our minds to wander, because the minds come really crazy. Instead of being here, we could be thinking of something else that we should focus on this very ceremony. We are bound, whether we like it or not, we are bound to get the purification. Hare Krishna. And there are some comments or some questions, because our system is not like, you talk and then you go scotch-free. You talk, you talk. I remember in Nigeria, I went for some TV program, and then the second time I went to that station, and so the lady who interviewed me the other time, she was very antagonistic. So she came this time pretending as if she's a friend. And then she said, but this time around, you have two people to face you. They will ask you, they will fire you. This is her statement. They will say they will fire you, she will fire you from this side, and the other person will fire you from this side. So then it's not a question of fire. This time around, it's not a question of fire. It's about really purifying ourselves. So, if you have some questions, you should ask. Otherwise, we have to go to the main program.
Maharaj, it's very good that you mentioned that our mind should be involved, because it's the mind that does devotion, not the body or senses.
Exactly. That's a nice point. Yeah, so let's see how to focus our mind on the whole of this ceremony. Let's be physically here and be here at heart with everything. Alright. Sisi Gorantai ki jai, Sisi Jagannath Sudhar ki jai, Sisi Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Vasudeva Maharaj ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Sai Gauranga, Sai Gauranga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Gora Hare, Santa Murate, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Rama, Prabhupada, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra ki